Right, so hello viewers, and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. I'm your host Pipichuchu, as always, and continuing from the beta, we'll be taking a look at a few multiplayer decks, namely faction and specialty decks to play around with, really. So, I mean, coming from the beta, I think we've already exhausted a lot of the more, conventional decks, say things like the Commonwealth, the Euro Core, I believe, or no, I don't think we did a US one, but I suppose we'll do that one in the future. But we've done more so all of the fully fledged factions, and now we're taking a look at some more fringe ones. And to start that off, I figured we'd take a look at North Korea, seeing as how they're absolutely hilarious in real life, and they are actually quite deadly in game. Now, I've started off the game here. You can, as always, you can find the deck code for this deck in the video sections below, though bear in mind that depending on whatever patch you're on or in the future different patches, it may mess that code up. Anyhow, these troops that we have here, we have a North Korean Mechanized deck, and the one thing that these guys are really good at is just absolutely pumping out APCs with infantry inside them and taking out air vehicles. So the game has begun. We're playing on the map A Maze in Japan, and this is a very mountainous map, a lot of forests, a lot of hills. It's technically a 3v3 map, but we're playing a 4v4 destruction map on it, and it still works fairly well. So I am playing the Boris side. Now, on the rest of the map, there usually aren't very many little settlements, but on my zone, it's a little bit more conventional due to the presence of this town. So, starting off the game, I see that my opponent here has some of these British Lynx helicopters, and these ones are a telltale sign of SAS infantry and the Commonwealth deck in general, so I kind of know what we're going up against. I see that something manages to snipe off my little helicopter here, which I was originally going to use to secure the road, so I know there's probably going to be SAS there. And I want to show you guys one of my specialty, or rather the premier units for this deck, these Pongay 2s. And the thing about them is that they have one of the best rocket launcher or missile launchers in the game. So while they only carry 2 rockets, they have an exceptional range on both against helicopters and against planes, but when it hits hard, because that is a 10 HE power unit, meaning that it has a very large blast radius against helicopters, and as you saw there, it just annihilates them like that. And the second thing about them is that with that 10 HE power, it can take down any plane in the game in one shot, provided it hits it with that 45 accuracy. So, continuing off of here, I mean, it looks like the SAS or inside... Oh, I have a phone call, so please excuse that. It looks like their infantrymen are somewhere inside these two, like, I like to call these little logging cabins, but it looks like their infantry are there, so I'm going to deploy my APC inside this forest, and I'm going to get my troops moving inside this area. Now, the North Korean guys, they have very cheap APCs, and for what they're worth, they usually come with some sort of cannon, or alternatively an ATGM or heavy machine gun on them, so they're not bad for the price range. And namely, with the mechanized Korean setup, their stuff is fairly cost efficient. So I'm bringing those guys up. I see that he has a few ADAT systems in the back, but I really just want to find those infantrymen and want to kill them off here. So I move my guys forward. Unfortunately, the North Korean infantrymen, they're kind of average, but the main saving grace of them is the fact that they're really rather spammable. So I have some of these recoilless rifle guys. Unlike the Chinese, like the Japanese, they have HE power, so they're actually able to stun infantry pretty well. And we're going up against SAS guys, and these guys are just absolutely wonderful at taking out armored targets and air targets. But in comparison to other elite infantrymen, they are not that great because they only have those M16s. Now, yet nonetheless, they still wreck my regular North Korean infantrymen, of course. So, the battle really just moves forward like that. I'm deploying some of these Strela teams, which are a 5-point AA unit, which I find really rather interesting. And I'm really just moving up ABCs to just sort of take down these SAS guys. I also have a pack of T-62s here because I actually find these to be pretty good defensive tanks. Now, as you saw there, that was a barrage of cluster bombers, but unfortunately I wasn't able to capture the little clip, but it looks like one of my Pongays actually managed to hit that cluster bomber, and there you go. That was one smoke and wreckage of a plane, which apparently disappeared when I hit the ground here, but we did take out that. You guys can rewind the video if you want to see the point jump under my name here under Team 2. So, yeah, one of the things about this deck is just cheap infantry, and one of the specialty things about the whole cheap infantry concept is North Korean specialty squads such as the Strela 2s. These guys are actually only 5 points, but they have abysmal accuracy, coming in at 30%, and the ranges against airplanes isn't great either, but they're spammable, which is the nice thing, and I do believe I get at least 24 of these guys. And I also had some of these band tank faggot troops, and the same thing goes for them. I mean, they're 10 points, it's relatively cheap compared to some of the German and American ATGM launchers, and yeah, they're pretty much rather spammable, and they do contain a good amount of missiles too, so they're nice like that. Now, my guys are going to be moving up here. My opponent has some of these Canadian ADAT systems. I really like these guys too. These are dual-purpose anti-ground, anti-air units, and they have long ranges, longer than most tanks, and they're pretty much just decent at hitting both things, so kind of a neat unit there. Now, in the meantime, I'm just going to probe forward and check out this area. It's a good thing that my opponent is going for a air deck, because this North Korean setup does counter it fairly well. My opponent here has a little electric voodoo plane, and these things are seed aircraft, meaning that they'll target radar guided launchers such as our Pongays. So that is a little rather unfortunate. And as you can see here, he plays very smart using them. He brings in those electric voodoos, and typically what I do, and I know most players do this, if you see a seed vehicle, one of the ways that you can counter it is to just simply turn off your rocket or your radar-guided troops until they leave, where they turn around, and then you can fire at them, turn them back on, aim, fire at them, and usually it'll take it out, but unfortunately these guys only carry 2 missiles. Even if I didn't turn them off, they wouldn't be able to fire just due to the fact that they don't have any ammunition. And he brings in his bomber, which was able to pick off a few units here and there. But the thing about that is, just due to the fact that the North Korean troops are just so cheap, I mean, these APCs are worth 15, the infantry are worth 10 apiece at the very most here so far. His planes, like that one plane over there, probably made up for all of our losses, because I do remember from this match that was a 120-point aircraft. Now, moving forward, what I want to do from this point is that I've pretty much secured the early game lead here just by wiping off his units. I've destroyed his vanguard of troops. I see that he has one Gazelle helicopter over there, and it looks like my little Korshan APCs are actually elite now, so that'll be kind of useful, I guess. I mean, they do have an a little ATGM launcher, so they might be useful there, but I pull them back mainly because I don't want to lose them for those 15 points. Now, coming from here, I'm mainly just going to expand my area. I'm going to bring my tanks forward, I'm going to bring my specialty teams forward, and I'm going to speed up the game here, seeing as how we're going to be doing this in a replay. Now, I see that Gazelle and I want to take that down, so I move up some of my VTT APCs. The special thing about these guys is that they actually carry a little Strela launcher on top of them. So again, not very accurate, not very damaging, but the main thing is that, I mean, they carry a fair amount of missiles, and they have a good range against planes, so I want to get them over here, and I want to take down that little Gazelle, and I want to try to take the nearby settlements. Now, unfortunately, these missile launchers aren't very accurate, so his plane setup was able to make it out of there. But again, his bomber runs here are just not doing very much damage. I mean, I lost one of those Korshan APCs in a Strela team. That's 20 points to me. That's not very much. That's worth one NATO unit. So again, very, very low on the points there. And my troops just really steam forward like that. I mean, I can replace my losses really easily. Secured the early game area over here, so I bring in a command squad and I just cap it off like that. So we'll be getting a little bit more in terms of points. And my APCs managed to snipe off one helicopter. Doesn't look like it's the recon one, just going off the point counts, but it will. Well, that's still another 15 points for us. Now, I see this group of light riflemen and Humvees. The default North Korean infantry are these Bochang Su guys, and they're just average in general. And compared to the light riflemen, these guys are going to lose just off of their stats alone. I mean, they have the AP, the Humvees there too, so I pull them back, and he's going to try to do another bomb around here. I'm going to see. I don't remember up until this point. Oh, there we go. We nicked one of his electric voodoos, and as you saw there, that was a one-shot deal. Unfortunately, I can't rewind the replays. I don't know why they don't have that feature. I know it shows this progress meter here, but I actually can't drag it back and forth, which is, yeah, just kind of lame. But yeah, our Pungate pretty much just sniped that thing in one shot and took it out. So that will be rather useful. And eventually inside the game, I mean, you do learn the availabilities of the troops, and I know for a fact that they can only have 2 of those electric voodoo little annoying little seed aircraft. So we're gonna wait, and we are really just going to see whether or not he brings his other one forward, and of course we can take it down in a similar manner. And here we are, we're really just continuing off of here. Now, I've got to say, with this deck, it really opened up the possibilities of these units that I usually don't use. So, for example, I usually don't use these 2-man ATGM and AA squads, namely because I find them too brittle for what they're worth, because the minute that they're shelled, if any shell lands remotely close to them, they have a very good chance of getting wiped out by artillery, and that is one big weakness of it, but luckily we have a ton of them, so that's fine. And another unit that I don't usually use are these recon jeeps and recon ground vehicles in general. Now, I use recon infantry because they're very stealthy and they can last a long time, and they also come in sniper variants, but I don't use these very often. So, inside this game, I would say that I had a fairly decent experience with these recon infantry vehicles, and the main thing that you do with them is that you just sort of leave them inside these zones, inside these forested zones, to clear them out. I mean, for 30 points, you get a very good optics unit, and that's comparable to the infantry units, of course, and they're faster than the infantry units by far, but the main thing is that they're more spottable too. So I'm just using my guy here to slowly probe up on that forest, and I just want to check it out. And again, he's going to do another run here. It's going to take out one of the Pangays, unfortunately, so that sort of makes up for one of his planes. But still, nonetheless, every time he runs those planes into the gauntlet here, it's gonna be a roll on the dice. Now, my ally here is actually running with an artillery deck, so he's just going to shell the living crap out of anything that remotely can harbor enemies. So yeah, those Abrams are probably taking the piss right now over there. Now, for a good portion of this game here, I'm mainly just building up troops and slowly trying to probe forward here. I see that artillery has done quite a little bit of stuff, so I want to see whether or not that is gone. And my tanks are just probing forward here. They're taking a few shots, so I pull them back. And unfortunately, something got them. I think it's a bomber, but not really sure. And the game pretty much continues like that. You see here that I'm just pretty much continuously running resupply to my troops here and there, and I'm buying more of those Pangays. For 80 points for the ability to one-shot planes, I don't think that's too much of an issue. Now, I've actually taken a liking to these T-34s in serious game modes. I mean, sure, you can rush him, but the nice thing about them is that they can actually do a pretty good job at harassing infantrymen. And here we are, here are these little APCs, and they are just picking off a 25-point recon unit. And again, these things are pretty damn good for what they're worth. Now, for APCs, they're a little bit more on the expensive side, but for that 8A capability, they're just great. And with their little machine gun, where I want to say autocannon on top of them, they're actually able to do a decent job at fending off infantry. I mean, here you see here that we've actually nicked the tow helicopter down to 1 health bar out of 4, and we did 2 damage bars on that little Lynx helicopter too, so they're not bad by any means. And with the North Koreans, of course, we have a wide selection of cheapo vehicles like cheapo infantry. And I bring up these Type 80 SPAAGs, and they're decently potent at taking down helicopters, provided that you have a good amount of them. There goes his little recon helicopter. But the main thing about them is that they have a very low fire rate and a low magazine count, so you do need to have at least, I would say, 2 of them for them to be even remotely efficient. Now, the good thing about them is that they can actually engage ground targets pretty well too, and we'll see that a little bit more in a little bit. And yeah, right, I was talking about the T-34s. Now, I like the T-34s mainly due to the fact that they provide a nice little infantry support tank for 10 points. So you'll see me actually use, oh, there we go, 2 more planes right like that. So we got an electric voodoo that was 80 points and a 160 Harrier jet, I want to say. And yeah, really, really deadly Pangays. So back to the tanks. I'm just getting cut off here from the subject. These tanks going in at 10 points, I just absolutely love them because combined with cheapo infantry, the tanks can just absolutely annihilate infantrymen crossing, say, the open like here, or even inside the forests here and there. I mean, they're not necessarily the best tanks to go up against infantry inside, say, buildings, but inside forested zones, I'd say that the T-34 is still a very viable choice, which unfortunately most people just don't consider because of its repute as a little spammable tank for just hilarity. Now, I see that my opponent is shelling these Pangays, and in general with these AA units, it's just better to move them after every shot or after every try, because then you keep your opponents guessing and you keep their seed aircraft away. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't nick one of mine, but it's still fine. My little things are still alive. He's gonna bring in this little tow helicopter again. And these Strela teams just unfortunately don't have the range to compare it with them, but it's alright for the most part. We can sort of bounce our troops around, and it's mainly just to sort of stagger his aircraft and to play keep away. Now, I believe in a little bit here, we got to see how those T-34s function. So here we are. I'm in I was going to put a little AA squad inside this forested area, but it looks like they have some Royal Marines here. And I mean, a good thing to do is to put these Strela teams on the sides of the mountains so that when airplanes fly over them, they can shoot at them. But I see these Royal Marines, and these are actually elite infantrymen, so they're really capable of taking out infantry. But what I want to do here is that I'm going to bait using my APC. I know that this APC is actually fairly brittle, so so the machine guns on this infantry will shoot at it. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the T-34s to kill them off. So yeah, there you go. They're going to fire it off using their little machine guns. T-34s are going to lay into them using their machine guns. So are these little AA vehicles, and that's just going to stun the living crap out of them. And once the cannons come into play, they do a decent job at demolishing them. Now, bear in mind that one squad of those Royal Marines are worth more than the T-34s, and, well, I suppose one of the little AA machine guns too. 1.5 of them, so yeah, I mean, really, really cost-effective plays here, especially going up against these Paradrop or, say, Paradrop and Eurocorps decks, which really rather rely on heavy and expensive infantrymen. Also have some more World War II classic units for you guys, some Su-76 assault guns here. They are just going to race down this little mountainside. I see some SAS guys there, and again, I mean, really rather effective in just suppressing infantrymen. And they're really rather cheap units too, so that's what I like to use them for. Now, unfortunately, those elite infantrymen just run a little too fast for my guns, so there they go. Luckily, I have some infantrymen here, and this is just going to control this entire area. I want to show you guys these recoilless rifle units that the Asianic countries get. I think all of the Asian nations get some sort of variant of these recoilless rifles. But yeah, they usually hit up to, or at least up to, 1 kilometer, and that outranges all RPG-like weapons and stuff and such like that. And namely, they outrange all little LMGs and heavy MGs that the infantrymen get. So what you can do with them is that because they have HE power, they actually form a little zone of control around them where effectively no infantry can get around them because they can just stun opponents like that. And especially going up against SAS guys right here, these infantrymen, just so long as we can see them and so long as I can kite them using my regular infantry, because that's what they seem to be going for, I can just get these guys to reload and continuously pummel these SAS troops with their recoilless rifles. And it takes a good, I would say, 3 to 5 health bar points away every time, making them still very, very effective. And there you see there, that takes them out. My SU vehicle here is just sort of fending itself off. That SAS squad is still elite, so it is still quite a threat with its expertly used weapons, I suppose. They have really good accuracy on all fronts. And that is pretty much that. Now, I believe the game is, yeah, it's pretty much over here. 3 minutes left to go. We have a good, I would say, 2K of points. in terms of a lead on them, and that goes that. Now I believe my opponent sends me like a airwave sort of thing, so I want to see how that plays out. And namely, he actually doesn't have any AA inside this area. I was actually able to call in this Su-25 to make a little bombing run here and lived alright. And you see here some little Humvees, and I think that is pretty much the end of that game. So, enjoyed this little video, and if